I have to ask you about BRICS, the massive shift in geopolitics that's going on right now. Because I mentioned the Ukraine war, obviously something that's extremely important. The rise in the tension between the United States and China is another one. The rise of the BRICS is another giant issue. Not issue, but a giant story that's going on. Obviously, just from the hill, China dominated BRICS as a threat to U.S. interests in the Middle East because China did what even the progressives couldn't do and negotiate peace between Saudi Arabia and Iran that is effectively working on ending the genocide in Yemen as a result. You had 6 countries that joined BRICS recently at the most recent BRICS summit. And they had the G7, which was bad for Ukraine because you had the G7 nations that refused to condemn the Ukraine war, and he was furious about that. So you're seeing a shift, and I know we're short on time, so I'll pass to you. I just want your thoughts on this. What do you think about the rise of BRICS? Should Americans be worried about de-dollarization? What's your thoughts about the rise of BRICS? And you can take it from there, Scott.
Well, I think what we're seeing right now is a transformation of the world away from the singularity of America, where we are the global hegemon. We have the rules-based international order that we wrote, that we dictate, that we insist everybody abides by, and the world is saying no. We've sanctioned one too many countries. We've stolen one too many sovereign wealth funds. We've been a bully one too many times, and the world is tired of this. And so what the world is doing is starting to coalesce in multilateral forums, and BRICS is the leading one. It started out as just a 5 nations: Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, so-called developing nations that came together to create a counter to the G7 and the G20. The group of 7, the 7 most developed economies in the world. That's a joke now because many of them are collapsing. The group of 20 was the way that the G7 could invite the others, and so we could control them as they developed. BRICS is saying we don't want to do that. We want to be on our own. And for the most part, the West sort of ignored it because it was a theoretical possibility. They just had a summit in South Africa where, as you pointed out, they've invited 6 nations to join. These are substantial nations. Saudi Arabia is joining. The United Arab Emirates is joining. Iran is joining.
Egypt, Argentina is joining as well.
So this is a big deal. And what it means is that when you look at BRICS, it's the way the world's supposed to work, where people sit down and they actually talk to each other. There's no one dictating. Everybody says China dominated. Yes, China is a dominant force because it's a big economy, but it's a consensus-driven organization that everybody's there willfully. It is stealing the oxygen from the G7 and the G20. I think you're going to see in the years to come that the G20 is going to become very insignificant as the world rallies around, because 6 members joined BRICS this year. Next year, when Russia has the chairmanship of BRICS, they're talking about bringing another 10 members. And once this happens, it becomes an unstoppable thing. And the United States is literally left on the outside looking in. De-dollarization is occurring as we speak. This will have an impact on the American economy, on all of our well-being. Am I sad to see that? Of course, I'm sad to see that. I'm an American. I enjoyed the advantages that were accrued by having the global reserve currency. But you have to be responsible when you have this kind of power. And we have been behaving in the most irresponsible way possible. You can't tell people to use the dollar as their reserve currency, and when they entrust you, as the Russians did, with $700 billion worth of assets, then steal it because you have a policy disagreement. You can't seize people's assets because you sanction them. We have abused the role that we assumed at the end of the Second World War, then sought to impose. And the world today is saying, no more, time out, we're moving on. And we're left sort of sitting by ourselves in a playground. Nobody wants to play ball with us anymore.